So it's finally that time. We are just a couple of days out from that amazing Super Cup game against PSG. The chance to win another trophy off the back of that Europa League win towards the end of last season. And I thought I'd make a video to take you guys away from all of the rubbish with the transfer window, all of the frustrations that all of us Spurs fans are feeling at the moment. But I do want to introduce a very special guest I've got for today's video. We're going to be building the lineup for the PSG game together. I am joined by SonnyTalksSpurs. Sonny, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm looking forward to this one. I mean, this game's going to be... I don't know what to call it. Like, a lot of people saying we're going to lose 10-0, but, you know, PSG showed in the Club World Cup final that they're not invincible, and even a Chelsea side can beat them, who I don't think are the best side, even in Europe, let alone the world.
So are you quietly confident then that we can actually win the Super Cup?
I'm not. I'm more confident than I was if Ange Postecoglou was the manager, because I think Thomas Frank has shown. I mean, we're shooting this before the Bayern game. He's shown up to this point in pre-season that we are more defensively stronger, or we're looking defensively stronger. But it's still PSG. It's still, you know, Dembele, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, whoever they put in that forward line, that midfield. It's gonna be a big battle. It's gonna be a bombardment, and hopefully the Spurs lads can can either keep the score down or at least, you know, take it to penalties or something.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to take everything we've got, essentially, especially with some of the players that we are now missing. But, I mean, we'll jump straight into it. We've obviously got a very important lineup to build for this game. It's going to be the first time we see Thomas Frank in a competitive setting. We know there's been a lot of talk over the sort of last few months since he's been appointed about him switching maybe between 3 backs and 4 backs. So that's kind of what I want to ask you first before we actually start adding players in. Do you think we will go with a 4 defence formation like we've seen mostly in pre-season, or is he going to maybe gamble with 3 central defenders and then wing backs?
I personally think he'll go with a 4, as you've just said there. We've done that most of pre-season, if not all of pre-season. He's not even really... The only time we've seen a sort of back 3 is when during like the difference between having possession and not having possession, and when we're more in the attack, Poro's pushing like up the field, or, you know, an Adogi or a Jed Spence. That's when it sort of is changing to a back 3 in like a game state. But we haven't set up with a natural back 3 because I think I don't think we need to yet. And I feel like against PSG, I guess we are going to have less of the ball. And Thomas Frank, you know, we saw even against Arsenal, even against Newcastle, we had less of the ball. So that's when you think maybe a back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it, does come into play. But I still think at the moment, to me, this would be a bit like chucking them all in the deep end and being like, go and play a back 3 for me. I feel like we'll keep with that normal back line and see how they can cope against the elite of Europe. And then when we go into the Champions League, I can imagine him, and, you know, when we're playing in the Premier League away against Liverpool, he might be like, well, this is the time to try it out, where there's not so much on the line. In fact, there's a trophy on the line, which I can't believe we're going for another trophy.
We'll start from the very back then, and we'll do the goalkeeper. I think it's probably going to be a relatively easy choice, but there has been maybe a little bit of talk amongst Spurs fans as to whether Frank might come in and favour someone like Kinski, who's better with the ball at his feet. But I feel like I'm leaning towards Vicario is still very much that number 1 goalkeeper. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there has been that debate, isn't there? And like, there's a lot of talk on Twitter from journalists that there is at the moment not that solid number 1 place yet. But I still think, going off what we've seen in the 2 years that Vicario has been at the club and what we've seen so far from Kinski, I think Kinski is the future still, and I believe Vicario is the present. I still think he's stronger playing out from the back. I still think he's a stronger shot stopper, even though he does have a ricket in him before his injury. So at the moment, I'd go for Vicario, just for, again, he's quite a good leader as well. And in a season where Son's left, Maddison's injured, Romero looks like he's going to be the captain, I imagine Vicario will be one of the vice captains now.
Yeah, I think Vicario will definitely be in that leadership group now, and I think I feel more confident with his shot stopping abilities as opposed to Kinski's sort of in that case anyway. So I think he's more than a deserving of a spot in goal there. I mean, the back 4, I feel like for Spurs, the back four is pretty set in stone when everyone's fit. But that's very rarely the case. Adogi obviously is out injured. We don't really know how long for, but I think we base this on the idea that he's not going to be fit for this PSG game. So, I mean, I'll make an executive decision here and say that the two centre backs are going to be Van de Ven and Romero, and the right back is going to be Pedro Porro. So I'll ask you about left back. I mean, I know we've got Jed Spence as a possibility of Ben Davis, or would you take a gamble again? I'm not sure gambles in a Super Cup against PSG is the greatest idea, but people have mentioned Van de Ven at left back. Who's your pick for that spot?
I just want to say as well, I know you say Romero and Van de Ven are, given starters, and I agree with that, but I just want to shout out Kevin Danzo. I feel like this might go down as one of the most underrated signings of the window, because technically he was signed this window. Fantastic towards the latter stages of the season, really good. Even when he came on in that Europa League final, I think he came on and really shored up the shit. So I just thought I'd mention him. So I'd go with Jed Spence at left back because, I actually think now he's better at left back than he is at right back. And what he's done in that position, defended against Saka, defended against Mo Salah in some games. In that the Carabao Cup first leg against Salah, he was fantastic and kept him on lock. Not many people did that last year. And I just think what he offers is he's very good defensively, and which maybe Pedro Porro lacks in. But he's also, really good in an attacking sense. And I feel like what we saw last year under Ange, I feel like Frank would have gone, right, I've seen all these qualities and we're going to get more out of you.
Yeah.
Because from what I've seen, I could imagine him really wanting to get that out of Udogie or Spence, pushing up and then allowing whoever's on the left, whether it be Kudus or Brennan Johnson or whoever, whoever he decides to play on whoever wing, they'll then go a bit more in central and be more of a goal scoring threat. So I just love talking about this manager because I get really excited about what we could see. Jed Spence at left back, I'd pick, mate.
Yeah, I think so. I think you make a really good point there about the sort of like explosiveness and the high sort of positioning of the fullbacks. It's one of the probably the main reasons why I struggle to see someone like Van de Ven in that left back position. But you made a fair point about Danzo as well. He's been excellent every time I've watched him, to be honest. He's not really put a foot wrong in a Spurs shirt yet, and he seems to really, really love being at the club as well. So I'd 100% agree that Jed Spence is the guy to go in at left back. So he can be added in there to complete our defence. Back for Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, and Jed Spence. I think that's the strongest we can get at the moment. Now, the second half of the pitch is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult to pick your team. So as you've mentioned already, we're recording this just before the Bayern game, and we've seen that the sort of midfield two, those defensive midfielders, he's gone with Bentancur and Paulinho. So he's chucked Paulinho straight into the team. So I'll throw it out to you. I think Bentancur probably has to start just because of his experience and how familiar he is in that role for Tottenham already. You can obviously say if you have something different, but I would put him in there. But then that second spot's really difficult because you've got obviously Paulinho's in there, Basuma's an option, Papsar could play there, Bergvall has played there. So what are your thoughts on that sort of midfield too?
Such a complex position now for us because I agree with what you say there about Bentancur. I said this the other day on a video and someone sort of was shocked that I said that Bentancur is still the strongest player. It just depends on what sort of game we're playing. What I see from Paulinho, which could be a good attribute for PSG, is we're not going to have a lot of the ball and we'll need someone to break it up. And the fact that he's the same country of Vitinha and João Neves, we might need a bit of that experience to know he's played with them, so maybe he knows how to play against them. But I'd say with Bentancur, what he offers is he's not as good defensively, but he is, he's up there with one of our best defenders in the midfield, Spurs. Because, he's the only one who's, if you actually line up all our midfielders, he's the only one who can play the six. I think he's better as an 8, but he can play the 6 more comfortably than a lot of the other names you mentioned there. He's better at passing, I'd say, and better at dictating that tempo. So I'd probably go with Bentancur, obviously, as that starter.
Yeah.
But then the other side is the one where it's a bit up in the air. And again, you mentioned Papsar being more used as a 10, but he scores
Yeah.
from those positions. He's got the legs, he can press, and Frank must like that. Very different to what we saw from Damsgaard. A lot of what Damsgaard did at Brentford was pressing, but he's more of creative and, can really, he could find a man in a box sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so then does Saar then come as an 8? And he'd be good in that position. But then I like Bergval, who has got a lot of potential, but we have not seen too much of him in pre-season. Archie Gray was good against Newcastle. So there's that option. This is the one position where I'm
It
really
is.
unsure. If I was to pick, I would, I guess it's because we haven't got someone in the 10. I could imagine he'd go Bentancur and
That's why.
Palhinha
Yeah, yeah.
just for a bit more assurance.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I think just that player to, especially when you consider how dangerous PSG are on the counter attack and how quick their breaks are. I feel like someone like Palhinha, who is going to throw their body into tackles, going to break up those transitions. I think he's going to be really important, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why Thomas Frank has thrown him straight in. So when you look at this PSG game as an individual game, I think maybe that's the best pair to go with to be able to give us the best chance of winning that game, and it gives us a lot more protection as well. So we'll put him in there, and I know you've mentioned the number 10, so we can go straight on to that position next, and then that'll leave us with the wingers and the striker. The number 10, obviously, James Maddison's been confirmed today that he's suffered an ACL injury, so he's going to be out for the whole season. Kulusevski's set to miss the first month of the new campaign. I mean, there's other players that could play there, but I feel like we're very limited in the options we have now in that number 10. Is it for you one of Saar or Bergval for that position?
My issue is I think they're great midfielders. I think they've just not got that eye for a pass yet, either of them. Bergval very young, Saar still on that young side. I think they're good for press and they're good for bodies in midfield. And I guess with the teams that we've played, the stronger teams, I'm not counting Reading, Luton or Wickham, but your Newcastle, Arsenal, Bayern, they've got a lot more stronger midfields than us. So I guess, like, in an ideal world, I think if, say, we're playing a Sunderland or a lower opposition in the Premier League, I imagine he'd go something along the lines of Kudus. This is before we've signed a. Say if we're looking at Burnley first game of the season, we'll go with that because it's the game after, and we might have not signed a 10 yet. I could imagine him maybe having, and in no particular order, that middle three as like Kudus, Johnson, Tell, and then maybe they do that thing in modern football where they all drift and interchange, because Kudus can play there as well, or even Odebear. We might see him. He played in the 10 for when he was at Burnley. But I'd say for this game, because of the magnitude of it and the opposition, I could imagine he'd want an extra body in there, and because then it could go to a 4-3-3 if he really wanted to. And I could imagine Saar being in there to provide the legs. To me, I think Bergval's the better player, but from what I've seen so far from Saar in pre-season, I'd just edge him. And even looking at the fine lineup today, Bergval's on the bench.
Yeah, well, I had Saar typed in, waiting to put it in because I had a feeling you were going to say that. And again, I completely agree with your points on that. And I think it's probably the most sensible option to have in there. So we'll move straight on to wingers then. Left wing, obviously, no more Heung-min Son as an option for us, which is incredibly sad. But we must move on, and someone's got to nail down that left wing spot. We can do the wingers at the same time. So we've got left wing options: Matthias Tell, Wilson Odeber. Right wing: Brennan Johnson, Mohamed Kudus. Who are your picks for those?
Again, this is tricky because Brennan Johnson, our European Cup hero. I still think what he offers, goal scoring wise, is fantastic. Scored a really good goal against Newcastle in pre-season. My one worry is I still don't think we've seen the best of him yet, and maybe that is because how much can we judge pre-season? There's always the caveat. The issue is Kudus strong enough maybe to play on the left, because I'd say the right is his preferred position as well. So, but then is Tell, I've not really seen enough from Tell in the sense of the miss against Newcastle is a worry. I mean, again, pre-season, so he might have been overthinking it. And that game in particular very much felt like not a pre-season friendly. It felt like a testimonial or like it was Son's farewell game. But against Bayern, he has gone with Johnson and Kudus. So I would go with that, really. I have to think with PSG is their fullbacks are quick. They're dynamic, Hakimi and Nuno Mendes. So you sort of have to have someone of a similar calibre. Because
you definitely think Brennan Johnson then? Because that's one I'm sort of looking at. And I think he really likes Odegaard. So I'm kind of in half a mind to think he might start on the left and Kudus might start on the right. But
Frank sees a lot of potential in him. My one worry is with these players, is like Odegaard and Tell in particular, is they're still a bit raw. I still feel like we're yet to see them proper explode at Spurs, which I'm hoping they do this season. The way I see it is in a game against PSG, in a game against Bayern, you want someone who's probably got a bit of a clinical edge in them, and Johnson has that.
That's probably the only position we've had so far where it's maybe been a bit more debatable in what Frank could go with. But again, your logic behind Johnson and Kudus together is definitely, along the right lines, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it. I mean, it leaves us with one position to finish on then, which is the striker. I don't know whether Dominic Solanke is going to be fit or not, which is I guess the big problem at the moment, because Solanke will not have played a game since his injury. Do you think he goes straight into that team if he is fit?
No, I feel like he will be eased in gradually. One question I have for you, actually, before I give my answer. A few people have said in my comment section, and we've just been debating him there. Brennan Johnson at striker. What do you make of that?
I think
not maybe in this game, but in general as an option.
I feel like he is. I was about to say I don't think he's clinical enough to play as a striker.
I know what you mean by that, though. He's not got the back-to-goal mentality, aerial ability.
He's good at finding himself in the right place at the right time, and I think he does that out wide very, very well with his late arriving runs at the back stick more often than not. And you know that he can strike a ball. But I don't think if you put Brennan Johnson up front, I don't think any team we play is going to be like worried about having to deal with him, if you know what I mean. I still would say Richarlison's a better option, and I'd probably rather play Tell as a striker than Johnson as well. But
what we saw Johnson good at was crashing into the box and back post Brennan sort of thing. But then what we've now got on the left hand side is we thought Son could have been that, but he hasn't got the legs. We've got someone who's going to be dribbling at defenders, putting in good crosses in Mohamed Kudus now. So maybe that's why I think he is better on the wing. And what I could imagine happening is Brennan Johnson will be like Frank's version of Mbeumo at Tottenham, in the sense of he just expects him to play in that middle slice of the pitch where it's between the box and the middle of the pitch like that. And he'll just be like, you just float in there. Pauro's going to be the one down the byline, early crosses and that. So that then brings us to the striker. And ideally, it would be Solanke. If he was fit, as I just said there, I don't think we should be chucking him in. Thing is with Richarlison, and still in pre-season, there's been moments where it's like he still has got that ability. You can see like he's willing to put his head on the line. He's got good movement and that. But I still don't think he's fit. I still watch him.
I know what you mean.
Think he's not. He's playing at about. He's 6 out of 10 ability.
Never looks 100%, does he?
In the perfect world, I think we should be moving Richarlison on and getting a backup striker. But in a good world, you'd hope that Solanke would be fit and Richarlison has another month on the sidelines just to really recuperate. But yeah, I'd probably go Richarlison in this one, but that doesn't give me much of a
considering.
Yeah, it doesn't give me the energy to be like, we're going to score goals today.
Considering Solanke's not in the squad against Bayern, and we've got PSG in 6 days from this Bayern game, it would be I think, the logical scenario in this case, even if Solanke is just on the bench. But I mean, yeah, we'll stick him up there. And that completes our lineup. So we've got Bukayo in goal, a back four of Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, two central midfielders of João Palhinha and Bentancur, and then Pat Matassar in that 10. We've got Kudus and Johnson playing on the wings, and then Richarlison in that striker role. Is that team capable of winning the Super Cup, Sonny?
I think he's capable of maybe getting a few counter-attacks in.
Yeah.
I can't see us really. I could just see like us really sitting deep and just, you know, hopefully break on the pace. And
yeah,
I mean, the thing is, I said it in the intro, didn't I? This PSG team, they're not invincible. We've seen them lose, but the way that they put some teams to the sword, even Real Madrid at the Club World Cup, you know, Inter Milan in the Champions League final, like when they're ticking. And I just think my conclusion was that they were just knackered. I could imagine they'll want to win this one just because, you know, I don't think they've ever won it. They mustn't have if they've only won the Champions League once.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know their Europa League history, but yeah, I mean, we should really be going all for this. It just, you know, it will get. Well, I don't know how we're saying this after winning a trophy only a couple of months back, but it will get a monkey off of Frank's back. But even if we lose, I think a lot of people will be like, "Well, it's PSG. Like, what are you going to do?"
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, before we round off, then I'll ask you for your score prediction. I'm gonna go with a 1-0 Tottenham win, late winner. I don't know. It's a weird one. You know the types of games you get before the season's really started, and PSG maybe if they're not fully up to speed yet will be a bit rusty in front of goal. But maybe that's more just me hoping. But I'm gonna go for a 1-0 very late win and get our hands on that Super Cup. What about you?
I like your faith. And I'm still hoping we're in that magical time of the underdogs winning stuff that we saw like the whole of last year. You know, Palace FA Cup and Liverpool winning the league against the odds. I mean, we've got the Community Shield before this game as well, so maybe Palace will cause an upset against Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think putting my, you know, bias to the side and my footballing brain in. 3-0 PSG.
Yeah.
And that could be 5, that could be 6, 7, but I'll go with, I think 3-0 PSG.
Yeah.
I think they wipe the floor with us.
That is our combined sort of team for the Spurs v PSG Super Cup. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed the video, remember to give it a like as well. And also, massive shout out to SonnyTalksSpurs. Make sure you go and check out his channel. I know you're trying to get to 10k very, very soon, aren't you, over on your YouTube? So any extra support over there will be a massive help to him. And yeah, I think that's about it from us. So fingers crossed that team we put together is the team that goes out against PSG. You never know. If we're 11 out of 11 for that, I'll be very impressed with us. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel here as well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.